Hello everyone, welcome again, another video. So today we're going to talk about uh, helping your players versus spoiling them, because there is a big difference. The best way to look at it is helping your players is helping them overcome either difficulties they are having just as general people or playing the game versus spoiling them rotten and running a Monty Hall campaign. For those of you who don't know, Monty Hall campaign is based on the former host of Let's Make a Deal, Monty Hall, and it refers to campaigns that you got a level 3 player and they've got the most epic weapon in the game, they got the most epic armor, they've got more money than they know what to do with, things like that. Generally, most DMs when they first start off, they usually will run at least one of those kind of games, and it's not their fault. They're just trying to make their players happy. Nothing wrong with trying to make your players happy. And players, if you're watching this, remember that we understand as GMs that you guys want your characters to be powerful. You want your characters to be awesome because let's face it, we all role play as a form of escapism. We're trying to get away from the real world. Maybe we're not as awesome in the real world. Maybe we can't go up to that bully and slice his head off with a +5 Vorpal sword. At least I hope not. But we understand that. But we have to balance that with gratification, instant gratification versus delayed gratification. So, having said all this, let's go into it. All right. Used to run a 4th edition game. Haven't ran it in a while. But in 4th edition D&D, they had action points. Now, I have a few players that are awful at rolling dice. And when I say awful at rolling dice, I don't mean those type of players where somebody's like, oh yeah, I'm really bad, I never get any crits. No, I had players that were so bad that they very rarely got successful rolls. And that makes for a frustrating game. Nothing worse than when you sit down and play a game with your friends and all your friends around you, at least half the party is doing really well and you can't even manage to do anything basic. It gets very frustrating. So I instituted a house rule. If you spent an action point, you could use it to add +10 to a skill or an attack roll. Seems like a lot, but when I was saying these players were rolling bad, I'm not joking. I mean, usually you're like rolls 3 or 5, and just they tried everything they could. They took the proper feats, they took their, everything that they could to min-max their skills and their attack rolls, and they still rolled awful. Once they instituted this house rule, now remember, in case you didn't know, you can only spend like one action point in an encounter, for quite a while. So, and you can only earn one action point every 2 encounters. You start the day with 1. So this wasn't like it made them uber powerful. It just made them where they suddenly felt that they were able to compete with the other players in the group. And it was amazing how much it changed their attitude towards the game. They didn't resent coming to the game anymore. They didn't resent they missed a spell. They were like, no big deal. Not a problem, because I'll save it for the next time, because maybe it was an at-will spell and they're like, I can use it for a daily ability or an encounter ability where it really counts, kind of thing. It gave them more choice. Now, I know there are some DMs, if they watch this, will go, that was ridiculous. That was way overpowered. No, it was helping my players. I didn't spoil them. I didn't say they just got to add a +10 once an encounter whenever they felt like it. There was actual consequences. They had to manage a resource, but they were in control. They felt that they had more power over their character. Therefore, they had more fun. Therefore, we all had more fun. Not spoiling. Another thing I used to do was I would let them look through the magic items and tell me, okay, what do you think your character is going to want? And then I would plan it out. Now, it was a wish list, yes, but it wasn't a guaranteed wish list. And not only that, but it wasn't a guarantee that they were going to get it right away. I would keep an eye on the players, and like if you had one player that was suddenly suffering really bad, like they couldn't make their fortitude saves to save their life, okay, well maybe it's time to put in a cloak that boosts their fortitude saves by +2, kind of thing. And all the players actually in my group were really good about making sure none of them was like the, full of avarice, like the, what's his name, Lafreeze from Green Lantern. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but he's the orange ring, ring of greed. He wants everything. Most of my players are pretty good about making sure that they all shared. Um, and I know some GMs are like, no, you're just supposed to roll on a random table, and that's what they get. And if it's useful, great. And if it's not, oh well. Again, personally, I think that is actually punishing the players, because nothing worse than a player who's been looking forward to a magic item, and all the other players in the group are like, all right, dude, next magic item is yours. All right, cool. All right, ready for it. Next magic item, it's a +1 dagger, and they're a fighter who wields a greatsword and is in plate mail. And the other player's like, hey, dude, nope, that's your magic item. You were the next in line for it. And he's like, what am I going to do with this? Or worse, maybe he gets a +1 spell staff. It's things like that. These aren't spoiling your players. These are helping your players. The whole point of a game is you're supposed to work with the players to tell a story. And I saw something once that said the story is more important than the mechanics, which is kind of true. But it also goes in with the fact that you need to make sure that your players are enjoying the story. And a part of the story with any role-playing game is the mechanics. It's unfortunate truth. Very few people I personally know would be happy to sit around in a group for 4 hours and just tell stories. You kind of have to get that mechanic going, that dice mechanic, which is why that's also important. So these things I don't personally think are spoiling. I think they're helping my players. One thing I personally do to help my players is I roll behind my GM screen. Now, I know a lot of you GMs may be like, well, of course we have the GM screen. I have the GM screen because I roll really well. And I'm not saying that as bragging. There's nothing bragging about it. I actually had my players once. They demanded. They're like, look, we think we've been fudging the rolls, so we want to see you roll out for the entire game. I said, okay. After they almost nearly wiped twice in one role-playing session, they were like, you know what, you can roll behind the screen. I was like, that's a good idea. Because what I would do is I would make sure that I tailored the damage to the flow of the combat. Now, what I say about that is I don't mean like I would turn a miss into a hit, but sometimes I would turn a hit in from a critical into just a regular hit, or from one where I roll maximum damage to maybe only a few points. I did that because the players wanted to play the game. We're all there to have a good time. And if you kill players just from your, as GM, Lucky's dice rolls, that does feel really unfortunate for the players. They get a little frustrated. One area I will not reward players is when they play dumb. And I do mean that. I'm talking about like if they're like, hey, I'm going to walk up to that dragon and I'm going to poke him in his nose. And the other players are like, dude, why are you doing that? And he's like, it's something my character would do. And I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? Yeah. I want to go poke the dragon in the nose. What's he going to do? Eat me? Well, eating player character later. And they're like, why'd you do that? I did that because you were dumb. I'm not going to... See, that would be an example of spoiling your players. If your players deliberately do something stupid because they're trusting that you as the GM will save them, let them die. Let the dice fall where they may, and if it kills them, they have to roll up a new character, and they're like, man, I love this character. Well, then you shouldn't have been stupid with them. I mean, we all understand that role-playing, there's kind of a verisimilitude of the world. Like, maybe your player character has never seen a goblin before. But unless the GM is doing something really sneaky, goblins don't have any magical abilities that they can fire lasers out of their eyes, things like that. So we all accept that, that kind of goes with it. But when the player actually treats the player character like it's a video game character and it's like, I can just restart. No, that to me is spoiling your characters. So that's it for today. Nothing big, but any GMs watching this, I just wanted to remind them that we are all here when we role play, whatever game you play, to have a good time. Everybody's in, like you're taking time out of your busy week, busy day, busy month to get together with some friends and kill some bad guys. And ultimately, you got to remember that part of your job as the GM is to make sure the players have just as much fun as you hopefully are having. So thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and like it. And if you're a first-time viewer, please subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys later.